And if we move the more noble metals, research metals, gold and copper, in this case, we found copper cluster or gold cluster in the three-dimensional clusters. So it is very, very difficult to obtain, even if we decrease the concentration of the gold and copper on the TiO2, it is quite difficult to obtain atomically dispersed copper and gold. But we try to disperse copper and gold by several methods. One is to use metal cluster, a metal complex, in order to stabilize metal species on TiO2 on surface. So this is one metal complex, copper metal complex. This complex stoichiometrically reacts with the TiO2 surface and gives such a type of the structure. So this copper here and the titanium oxide is here, and oxygen gold is running across this direction. And the copper is, atomic copper is stabilized by the ligand here. And this is one way. The other way is modification of surface. Because copper and oxygen, or copper and gold have small interaction. But sulfur have a strong interaction with the copper and gold. We modified surface using sulfuric carbonic acid because carbonic acid strongly interacting with TiO2 on surface. It's absorbed on this exposed titanium side. Therefore, it is covered, the TiO2 on surface fully covered with this one. And it has the sulfur. And deposit copper on the surface. Contrary to the non-modified surface, this copper is atomically dispersed in the result of the extract. So the copper is here, and we found sulfur and oxygen. And sulfur, copper, oxygen is a linear structure. In the same strategy, we use nanocluster benzoic acid. In this case, we successfully dispersed copper in atomic form. And this one is gold. Even gold, we modified benzoic acid. We obtained atomically dispersed gold in this case. So the second method to how to disperse the to disperse the metal atomically is to modify the surface. Surface is modified by the strongly interacting species. And the third one, controlled surface diffusion. So the interaction of metal with support is through oxygen. If this is correct, copper or gold should move or diffuse along this oxygen row. If we modify the surface by defect here or something, just absorb it. So the 5 minutes? Yes, still 5 minutes. Okay. So if modify the species here, so the diffusion path is blocked by this absorbance or defect, because species diffuse along this oxygen row. Defect have no oxygen. Therefore, metal diffusion is pre-bend. So, but how to make such structure? We use acetic anhydride. Acetic anhydride are dissolved on TiO2 and on surface dissociatively. So here is the acetic anhydride. Acetic anhydride have two acetates. One acetate are dissolved on here, on the titanium surface. The other acetate should react with retinol. However, this type of acetate is present on the surface by 40%. Another 60% is this type. So this acetate converts to this acetate, leaving one oxygen defect. This is the result of the HLEs, XPS, and another STM. So, using this acetic anhydride, we can have both structures. If we can prevent the copper cluster formation on this surface, maybe this assumption might be correct. So this is EXAFS oscillation on the acetic anhydride pre-modified surface. So this oscillation is quite different from the oscillation without modification of acetic anhydride. And it is very similar to this atomically dispersed oscillation. So it means by modification of acetic anhydride, we can have atomically dispersed copper species. So this is a model to explain this phenomenon. So if the copper here, copper is diffused along the oxygen row here, but there is defect. In this case, copper stopped here, and this stopped copper is trapped by this acetate. So I think this is one explanation why metal species grow around defect, because defect prevents the diffusion of metal species. So this is rust sheet. So we applied total reflection process EXAFS technique on this single crystal species, and what we found, metal strong interact with anion, not cation. And two bonds formation are necessary to stabilize metal atoms, because we always found nickel or copper, we always found two bonding, sulfur or oxygen, etc. And the third one is metal cluster stabilized marked bonding between surface and anion. And the fourth is oxygen defect placed to prevent the diffusion of metal species, and maybe it is a nuclear center. And so finally, I should acknowledge these people who are collaborating with me and do this experiment. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Now the paper is open for questions and comments. Any question?
I'm very